All right, so this is Unit 4, and in this we are finally going to do some serious music making. So I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to say File, New, and I'm going to not save that because I don't care. And I'm going to click on Blank, and then I've got a blank project. So to start out with, we're going to start with the simplest possible way of making music, which is just to use loops. So there's two ways to get there. You can either click Browse Loops right here in the center, or you can go over here to this Loops button, and this brings up the Loops window with tons and tons of samples. So I'm going to clear that out by clicking that X, and I'm just going to start listening to some of these beats. So I'm going to start actually with beats and even hip hop. And then if I just click on the purple triangle of any of these loops, I can hear it and see what I think. And I can use my down arrow keys to go through them until I find one I like. And I like that one a lot. So I can either hit enter or I can double click it. And that will load it in to my project. So now it's not playing from there, it's playing from over here. I can hit enter now that I've closed my loop window, and that will bring my purple playhead back to the beginning. And then I can hit spacebar to play it. Cool, spacebar to stop it. Now I can turn the volume up by clicking on this and holding down with my mouse and going straight up. And now I'm going to open up the loops window again, and I'm going to put another layer on that. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to say synth. Let's see if I can find any cool synths. And I might as well do hip hop again. Let's see. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, I really like that actually. So I'm just going to double click it, and it loads it in. It probably needs to be turned up. My drums probably need to come down. And then I can bring this back and hit spacebar to play it. Very cool. And now I'm gonna do a bass. Let's see what kind of bass do we have. So here is an important note. Sometimes students will say, the volume isn't working, I can't hear anything. It might be because they are listening to bass loops, and those bass loops are all really, really low frequencies, like what your subwoofer plays. They're probably listening on an iPad or a phone or a computer, and you're not going to hear much because those devices don't have a speaker that can play those bass frequencies. If you wear headphones, you'll hear the bass just fine. So just a little tip, if students are saying that their audio isn't working, ask them if they're using bass and ask them if they're using headphones. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going through this, and I'm gonna do number 2. So I double click this, and that loads it in, and I can play it. And there we go. I have a little beat, and that could be the basis of a rap for math or social studies, or this could be a background track for a project. The sky's the limit really, but that is a super simple, quick and dirty way to get going with music making just using loops. That's usually the first thing I do with students when I'm introducing them to music making, is just get them in and get some loops in really quick and dirty. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes for them to collect 2 to 4 little loops and load them in together, and then they have a little beat. So I'm going to click save and kind of keep this as a checkpoint. Now I'm going to add on to our loop knowledge and go one step deeper. So we could go to Patterns Beatmaker. And now what this is going to do is allow me to create my own drum pattern. And I can just do it super simply by clicking on the patterns. So I'm going to put a bass drum or a kick drum on all the beats. So every 4 squares, I'm putting a kick drum. And I'm going to put a snare drum on beats 2 and 4, like this. And I'm going to put hi-hat on all the eighth notes, which is the same thing as saying on every other square. And now I want to hear this by itself, so I'm actually going to click on these little headphones. These headphones will solo that track, so I'm not going to hear anything else besides this patterns track that I'm making. That's cool. I actually want to change that though. I want to make this a halftime thing, so I'm going to redo my beat and there we go. So that is a super easy way to add a drum part. If I don't like those sounds, I could click on this right here. If I click on the name, it will open up the whole menu and I can look at all the different types and categories, or I can just click this arrow and it will quickly go through them one at a time. So this one sounds like this. And so that is the same rhythm, same exact rhythm and pattern, but using different sounds because I'm using a different drum kit. This one's called Machine Pop. So that is kind of step 2 and step 2 in complexity. Step 3 would be to actually play that. So if you click not on patterns right here, but on instrument, you'll have the option to play. And you can see all of the drums, all of these things right here have keys that they correspond to. So if I click A, it'll play that drum. If I click D, it'll play that, so on and so on. So I can do this. So that's just me playing on my regular keyboard. I could use a fancy MIDI keyboard, a musical keyboard, but I don't really need it. And so now I'm gonna actually do a little practice with playing along. So I'm gonna unsolo this by clicking this. And now I'll hear everything. Ollie will hear everything that I'm playing along with. And now I'm just gonna add a little layer of drums that I record myself. So I need to put my playhead back at the beginning, and then I make sure that this is armed. That little R should have red around it. And now I can go down here to record, and I'll click record. It will count me in, and I'll play my beat. Before I record though, I want to go down here and I want to turn metronome on so that I can hear the beat when it counts me in. So I will bring this back one more time and click record. 2 and 1, 2, here I go. Cool. And you can see it by default makes it an 8-bar phrase, an 8-measure region. This thing right here is 8 measures long, but I really only want it to be 4. So I'm going to go to the end, take this, bring it back, and now it's 4. Now I can loop those same 4 measures, so it basically repeats those same 4 measures that I just recorded using that tool. So that's an important thing to notice, the difference between the looping and the adjusting. 2 different things. I'll loop it out, and we can hear our beat all together one more time. Cool. So that is how you can record an instrument. Now, that's obviously only recording drums, but I could also record another instrument. So I'm going to say add new track and piano and keyboards. And now I'm just going to do a super simple piano part. I'm going to play just D and A. I chose those notes because the key is D minor, and I know that D and A will probably sound good. So I'm going to use actually this D and this A. And again, I can just use my regular computer keyboard playing X and N. So here we go. I'm going to add a little layer of piano. 2 and 1, 2, here I go. And that's it. Again, I want to go down here, put my mouse on adjust, not loop, but adjust, bring that back, and then put it on loop and loop that phrase out to be a full 8-measure phrase. So there we go, and I can hear it all together. Cool. So that is the kind of bare bones for how you can start to make music. In the next video, we'll go one step deeper and show you some other cool things. Before I finish though, I'm gonna name this, and I'm gonna name this Unit 4, Unit 4 Beat. And then I'll click save. And then Soundtrap, again, it will work in the background doing my mixing, and in just a second, it'll give me the option to click that download button, and then I'll download that as an MP3 and share it however I want. For you, you'll need to download that and then take that MP3 and submit it as your artifact for the checkpoint. So now you can click download, and it will download Beat right there as an MP3, and you can do whatever you like with that file.